it's Stacy with So Steady, and we are here live with the amazing Donelle McAdams. We are starting a new series today where we're going to be highlighting one template set, template category every other Monday. What Mondays are those going to be, Donelle?
Odd Mondays.
Hence our title, Odd Mondays with Donelle. It's not that it's an odd Monday. It's just that it is actually an odd Monday.
It's an easy way to remember when you get up on Monday morning, you think, is it odd or is it even? Oh, it's odd. We have it live today.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we're super excited. We are going to be highlighting some of our resellers that have these amazing tools readily available in their store, ready to sell to you at that amazing special offer that you see below. So take advantage of that, especially with they have some bonus things that you can take advantage of through them. We want you to be able to purchase these from resellers near you and contact them. They might even have some extra bonus deals. So the two stores that we're going to be highlighting, we have in the description today. So you can go ahead and check out the description of the class either on YouTube or on Facebook to take advantage of that. But yeah, we're really excited to be able to help promote this with our actively with our resellers out there that have these templates ready to ship, and you're going to get them that much quicker that way. All right, Donelle, so what are we talking about today?
Well, today we are going to feature the sampler set for borders. So it's simply called the Border Sampler Set. And we have in that set, there are actually 5 templates. One of them is 2 sizes of the same shape. So what we have are this one that's called Continuous Border Loop 3-inch. And then we have the Continuous Border 3-inch Loop 3. You know, they got some original names there. I call this the fish. And then one that is really easy to do, but kind of misunderstood is the rope template. And the one that's in the set is the 2.5 by 2.5. But I also have that in 2 other sizes that once you know how to do this size, you're probably going to want to get some other sizes. So these are a couple of the other sizes. This happens to be the 0.75 by 0.75, which means 3/4 by 3/4. And then this one is, I think this is the 1 by 1, to be honest with you. So I'm going to lay those aside for right now. The last one that's in the set is what we call the Continuous Heart. And you can see there's one here. And then when I remove my tape here, I am going to have a second size. So these just kind of hook together because these pieces can be kind of fragile and it's easier to keep them going like that. Now you'll notice that you can see that I've used quite a few pieces of ruler stickers. And so the ruler stickers are what I use when I am doing some different things with these. And we'll get as many of those tried out today as we possibly can. So I'm just going to start with this first one that I showed you. And that is the one that's called Continuous Border 3-inch Loop. Now, as usual, we've got to have something to go on to line up with. So I'm going to use my ruler here, and I'm just going to take and draw a line across the bottom. And this gives me plenty of room, even though there's only about 1 inch down here, to do the design and not have to worry with my template being off the edge. Now, I want to give you, since everything we're doing is borders, I want to give you a little hint. If you are doing something and you are at the very edge or close to it, and it would cause your template to hang off like this, well, you know these are going to cling to that mat. Then what you want to do is just get a scrap piece, like maybe you've cut off a piece on one end of your sample pieces, but you just need a scrap piece that you can lay up against there so that when you're doing the design, it will travel with you. So it doesn't really matter, just a scrap piece is something. I usually just have like a 3-inch wide section that is already been quilted up with something. It doesn't really matter, but if it's been quilted up, it'll stay together better because you want the same thickness, the same batting, the same backing thickness. It doesn't have to be the same color or fabric or anything like that. But that's just a little sample, so that, or little hint, so that if you get into a situation where you don't have enough space to use the template on all of the fabric, you can actually put a piece of fabric down there. Now, this particular template, obviously you could use it 2 different ways. I'm going to start by using the way it's intended to be. And that would be that this little flat piece right there is going to be, let's just start right down here, is going to be right on the line we drew. So we're going to put our needle down here. We're going to pull our thread up. And remember, a good pair of tweezers is essential to get that thread up. And then I'm going to put that foot back down, put my needle back down, make sure I've got my machine set for whatever it needs to be on that particular machine. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to come around and when we get back down to the line, that's where it'll stop. We're just going to take this over, line that edge right back up. There's also a line over here. There's actually lines here. You can't see it yet, but there's a line on the edge here that lined up with what I stitched. I think I've got a place on my mat that's catching. That's not good. Let's get that line back up again. So as you can see, border loop is pretty much the name it needs because of the fact that that's what we're getting here. And that's what I've got. As soon as I finish this design, I'll get another mat. Let's just stop right there and get it because you want this to finish in here exactly the same or close to it. See, what's happening is this is up and it's catching. So let me just get another mat. Always good to have a mat waiting in the wings. Sounds like this is a brand new one. Oh no, you'll see that it's not when you look at it. This is one I let someone use in class when we were doing circles and straights, and they pulled the paint off of it. But that's not going to matter to me right now. All right. Back to the fun. So let's set this. It was right there. So we're going to move it over. Put that needle down again. Bring that thread up. All right. So we're going to get that in position. And remember, if you're using a generic ruler work foot, which would be one that you got from Sew Steady, your needle might not be centered. So you want to make sure you center your needle before you start this, or these won't come out meeting like they should. So I'm right on that line. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to get those threads out of the way. I'm putting it right back on that line. Move it over. So you can see how crucial it is to have everything lined up just right. Now, a good little thing to do is to measure right here. So I think you can see right there, there's my line, there's my previous stitching, and I want this to just touch. You can see right there, it just touches. So if I just take the time to make sure that I've got that lined up in all those directions, then when I go by there, that will just touch. Move it over, line it up as to what you think it should be, and then measure. It might move just a smidge so that you can line those up. And this is one of those designs, I'm going to show you what I've done also, that I have used in a little bit different way. So watch how I do this. This, I just did a little bit of a design to see if I liked it before I put those on there, but those arrows are pointing to where I want to line up on the line. And I'll move it clear over. So with just a little bit of movement up, you're still getting kind of a curly Q design. It's just a little different and a little bit more open. So let's look at that. So you can see here, from there when I change my mat, how those touch as you're going across. And then this, that's one of the old ones. So this is more what the design looks like right there. But you can see it's about 3/4 of an inch shorter, a little bit more open, but it still has this fun little design in there. So let's see, to tell you exactly, if you're looking at this template from the bottom edge, which is actually the top edge here, because that's the way you can read it. So to measure that down, if you want to be exact, it is 1.5 inches. So from this top, I measure down 1.5 inches, and that's where my arrow is. Now, why did I pick that spot? Well, I wanted it to be considerably shorter, but I still wanted it to have a loop here. And if you go up much farther, you're going to get the arch, but you're not going to get a loop because it didn't come back towards the center down here. So you can see there's a line right there. So let's show you what that will do. We'll come back down here to the other end. There's so many different things that are done with the template, but they're different than what the whole template does. But there's so many different things you can do with it. So we're using that line right there. We're lining it up, and you can see it does not overlap itself. So that's using just that centering mark there to get this design here. Now there's so many different things that you could do with this. And what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to mark some lines like so. And then I'm going to have it so it overlaps like that. So if I'm going to overlap it like that, that means that when I line up, there's my center. So I'm just taking that ruler And I'm going to get my center here. And we want to get it so that it's not only centered, but 1/4 of an inch off. So I'm going to measure from that side because we're going to start over here. But there's my 1/4 of an inch. But I'm starting over here. Now I would pull up my threads and all of that, but I won't have to on this one. It's not going to cause me a thread nest or anything. Move it over, line it up. So a lot of these things are just play with them and find out what you can get. I think this was a fun one because you get this diamond in here, but you also don't have like a loop. It's almost like a lazy diamond in the center. All right. So it's just very, very, well, it's very easy to do, but it looks like you've really spent a lot of time working with it. And remember, it was measuring as I work with it. It's not like everybody's is going to be exactly the same here because you might pick a different way to line up. So in the case of what I did here, I used the middle. There's a line and etching right there. And that's the way I did that across. And then I simply just used, you could use the edge here and went straight up. So I would know where I needed to hit here and here. And actually down there, I didn't draw a line, but that's the way I did it. So you've got spots that you can match up with. So any questions on that? All right. Now, some of you may wonder, so how much is that? That one is actually 2.5 exactly wide, the way I did it. And again, fun little designs. Think of this as a border. So like this is a seam, this is a seam, and then this is what you would have going on in between there. Now, I found one project that is not finished, which, you know, I know you guys probably don't have any of those, but I have a lot of them. I'm just teasing. But I have started using that template to do this border on this particular table runner. And so you can see that I have just come down and started here. And the same thing at the other end. I was only like 1/8 of an inch off down here. And so it's really, it fit right in there. Now, if you want it to be exact, you're going to have to stitch it out, do some measuring, and see how many of these you can get across there before you start. Now, this particular project, I am leaving an extra 1/2 inch of this so that I can bring my back to the front and it will just come right up to the edge and be a self-binding there. So that will come up to that. So when you're doing borders that are actually out like this, you do need to allow for where you're going to be binding it, or you'll lose some of your design in that. Now, there's probably a ton more things that I can do. Well, I know there is. So let me just show you a couple things here. Trying to think what I've done before. I guess that's it with this one. It's the heart border I was thinking of. So we'll move on to the one that I call the fish border. This one can actually be a edge-to-edge design if you want it to be. It obviously is a very nice border, but it could be edge-to-edge. So we're going to take this and we are going to start, we'll start down here. And we're starting so that this etching is right on that line. We'll come right over here. Again, we would pull that up. And we're coming around. and back down to the line. I'm going to pull that out. So they get very close in the center. So we're coming back. It'll touch right there. Get very close in that center, and we're back to the line. Move it over. And now that I've got enough going on here, you can see that there's etching on the template that shows me where I line up. Okay, so I've got lineups there. I've got lineups over here if I was coming the other way. If I'm starting right down here, then it's going to be pretty much set for you because you've got that line. Now, as you can see, once you've done a couple of them, it's hard to tell because it's the same on both sides. So it's one of those things. That's why I said you can make this a fill pattern, because you could fill this in and it looks very similar to what this does. So let's do a couple more. Actually, I think if we do that right there and stop, we can come up here. There we go. I'm lining that line up with that spot, so that will come right back to that. So you will get that going on. You'll have diamonds in there. Over here, I've just got a line and a point there. I use this to line up also. Now this is one because of where I'm at. I'm going to stop at the top. Whoa, I went the wrong way, guys. I'm going to stop at the top so that I could continue on like this. So you have two rows kind of alike here, and then you have a diamond. And then you'll have two more of these and a diamond. So this pattern, and then there'll be a row of the diamonds, and then this pattern again, then there'll be a row of the diamonds. And it's just a real easy and fun background fill. I said, to me, it almost looks what the pattern on my mattress looks like. But it's really a lot of fun to use it that way. If you make bags, this is a good one for that. And then this one would be the last one, stopped at the top. So it could go on the other way. So that's what that looks like. So border-wise, it would just be that. If you wanted to do it as a fill pattern, it would be that. I think you'll agree with me. That's a pretty fun fill pattern. All right. What else can I do with this? Okay, let's look and see here. So I'm going to take this one, and there's a line right there and right there. And so all I'm going to do is use my line I drew and set this down on it so the needle is in the line. Come back to the line. Move straight over so that line stays on the line as well as this one. And again, it's where I would use my ruler stickers. When I first started doing templates, they always tease me because I was always trying to figure out what else can we do with them, rather than just taking it as one template to do one thing. And now we certainly encourage you to see what else you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. Now, obviously, I wasn't very consistent because I got some big ones and some little ones, but that's where my ruler stickers would help me out. But you can see you've got a fun little border there. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't done before because I'm just curious what it will do. Is I'm going to lay this template on its side and use that center as its line and see what we get here. I don't know if it'll look like fish or not. Not really. I thought maybe it might look like fish, but not really. So I don't know if it has any potential. I'd have to play with it, I guess, a little bit more. But that is our border loop 3. And obviously you could go up in here and do that, but you end up exactly back where you started. So I don't know. Let me see if I try this. If I did it across, if it would look like a bow. We definitely get a good triangle. So I want you to keep in mind that all of our templates are nothing more than edges, shapes and edges, either way you want to look at it. So if you wanted something like that, you can just use this to get that. I mean, it's just that our edges give us this security that those of us that don't do free motion, we need that security. So it gives us the security to do that. Now, I'm sure if you worked with this a little bit, you could get it figured out so that you would finish up here and be able to do another one so that you would have that space. And you could put like maybe even just a little button in the center of this to have a little buttons and bows thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that needle down in here. I haven't played with it, but we can at least give it a shot. So we're going to go to there. I'm going to flip this around. I've got a line here and a line there that will tell me I've got it centered at that spot. And I can come right back to there. Now I went too far on that. I should have stopped right there. And if I really was doing that, I might want to measure this up and actually get it measured, but start up here at the top so that I wouldn't have to go back up this side to start the next one. But you can see what we've got going there. And if you did put that, you could have some, put some buttons there and have buttons and bows or whatever. So I'm just that person that's always thinking, what can I do with this? How should I start this? Do I want to have that extra stitching there? And if I don't want that extra stitching, how do I get that lined up? And a lot of that can be played with when you're using your stitching line disc. Yeah, those things. So you can do that plain with that. I think I'll get another piece of fabric here. And I'm going to show you a finished. This is a sample that shows what all you can do. This was the first one that I did. Then this was doing that background. I'm getting ready to show you these hearts, how that works. And then I'm going to show you the ruler, or excuse me, the knots. Okay. You'll be able to see this one a lot better because it's a black fabric. I've already got it ready to show you the rope. I called it knots, but it's rope. So let's draw the line here on this one. So I'm sure some of you have this set. Some of you may want to get it, but remember, as Stacy said, there are some shops that are being featured here, and that way you can get a discount by buying them from those shops. And if you know a shop that you go to, you might want to let them know. Maybe they have some templates they want us to show, because the whole idea of this was to help those shops with their inventory. We want to promote the stores. So make sure that you share that information. Now, what I'm going to do right here is, I always have to think, I should just write this down. Yes, okay. So I am going to start right here because I have figured out that on the first one, that's where it's going to come back and cross. So I've lined up this line across there. And on this one, after I do this first tail, like I'm going to show you here, I need to flip this over. So this one gets stable tape on both sides. And when I line this all up, this is going to come back and cross right there. I'm going to take this, line it up. Turn it over, line this up. And if I want to check it, got to get my spacing gauge, measure right in here. So you can see how those just have just a little bit of a crossover. This one back here is where that mark was, so I just have that. Now, if you wanted that to come down here, you wouldn't start at that spot. You would line it up the same way, but you would start clear down here in the bottom. Can you tell us how far it is up? I can. The easiest way to measure that is from this line right here, that edge right there. It is a ½ inch. It's a ½ inch. This is an inch down here, so it would be an inch and a half. There we go, inch and a half Am I saying, let me look at this again. Let's go from here. 1 3/4 inches, excuse me. It'd be 1 3/4 inches from the bottom because this is 1.5 inches. Okay. Now let's just do the little one for fun so that you can see that. And yes, I figured that out too. And it's still the 1/2 inch. So I'm going to just cut that one right there. And depending on what you're doing, if you're going to be moving from left to right, the big part of the heart will start out on the right. If you're going to be moving from right to left, the big part of the heart will be on the left. So let's go ahead and set this one there. You can see it crossed right over that. So that's what that one would look like as you're working down there. Now, you can also, when this comes down, when this is turned over, because it would have been right there, if you wanted to stop this so you didn't have that, like you just now have 2 interlocking hearts, there just wouldn't be these pieces right there. Kathy, that's a good question. I don't know. We'll ask Stacy. Stacy, how do they know what are the featured stores?
It's actually on the post. We sent an email about it as well. I can go ahead and add them in right now onto the description, and then I'll actually include it in a message back to everyone as well.
Perfect, because I've got quite a not quite a bit, but I got some left to show, so there's plenty of time.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks for asking that, Kathy. So I see some people are getting their templates with the backing on them. The easiest way to get that peeled off is take the corner of your seam ripper on the corner of the template and just lift it up a little bit and peel very, very slowly. And it'll come off very easily that way. So don't let that be a stopper for you. It's pretty easy to get that off of there. Now, what I'm going to show you is how to use this template. It's the one that comes in the kit, the 2.5 by 2.5 inch rope. And I'm going to tell you how I marked this. But I want you to understand that you can only miter in 2 opposite corners, meaning you can only get it to look like that real pretty tulip there in 2 opposite corners, unless you were to stop your design. Like, let's say we're getting to the middle and you stopped your design and then started in that opposite corner and worked your way back. Nobody says these have to meet up. You could have a small space here in the center. You could put a mini design there in the center. You can do a lot of different things. I have even seen it, and it's really cool, where let's say your quilt the border was 36 inches long. Instead of going halfway at like 18 inches, they stopped at 12 inches and then did the opposite border up the other way. So there was a space where they were meeting, but the space was not very big. It was probably like one ended here and the other one ended maybe an inch from it. It's really pretty to have it that way because it creates an interest in your borders. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. So in this case, I have drawn 2 lines 3 inches apart with the middle marked. I just used it as a hash mark so I don't get confused. And I've done my diagonal. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at this template both ways because you have to be able to use it both ways. This is actually the right side. I have an A, an A1, a B, and a B1. And I have also put my ruler stickers on the center line. Now you can't, you might see that right there, but it's covered up because of my ruler sticker. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that center line on the center line. I'm going to move this so that it is 1/4 of an inch because I want that line to stitch right on top of that line. So I'm going to measure that. Let's see if I can get you guys a little more straight down. I have to keep that on the center, but I want this to be 1/4 of an inch. So it's 1/4 of an inch all the way along there. Okay, so I'm going to take this now and I'm going to start down here. In this case, I'm going to start at B. I'm going to stitch all the way around back to B and come back to B1. Now it's all the same if I start at A and stitch all the way around to B, or all the way around to A and come back to B1. So it's pretty much however you want to work this, and you'll get the hang of the movement. So I've put this right where I want that to be, and I'm going to measure that right there. Pull up my thread. I hit the wrong button. Okay. It's stitched right on that line. I'm back to where I started, and I'm coming back and stopping at B1. I slide this over. I line up that line that's etched on there. I line this up, and I line that one back there up. And up at the top, which you can't see right now, there's another one. I can also measure right here to see if I've got that right. So now you can see I've got a little bit of space. I must have went a little bit too far on B1. Happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Just stitch back to it. Make your turn. Come back to this spot and back to A. So in the case of what I'm doing, I'll have some heavier ones here and here. So again, I'm lining that up. I'm lining this up. I'm lining that. And I'm lining up this. So here we go around this way. Started at A1, I stitched to B1 and back to B. I move over, line up at the top, line up there. But if you want to make it so you don't have any real issues, always measure this one right here. Matches back to here. Across, line up here, line up there, and measure down here. Now, obviously, this is my last one. I'm running out of space. So I'm just going to stop right there. That's where I can either stitch over a few stitches that I've already done. I can pull up my bobbin thread. I can do about any way that I want to tie off. So I've got my rope in one direction from the corner. Now I'm going to turn it this way. Obviously, wrong side, doesn't work. So we're going to take it and set it in here like this. So again, I'm now looking at my same lines, except they're upside down. And I'm going to put my needle either up here or down here. This one has a definite lineup, so it's where I'm going to put it. The top one just kind of angles out, so I can't really tell where that one's going to go. So I'm going to put this right in that spot, and I'm going to line this up. Now, if I want this to be double stitched, I can go up that way and around like this. Or if I just want it to still be single stitched, I'm just going to leave it just like it is here. I'm going to measure, and I'm just going to take off going this way. I'm right back to where that's joining. So I'm going to come right back over to the A. I'm going to move over. That lines up. This down here lines up. That's now lined up, and I measure. And that's another reason it's so critical that you get your needle in the center of your foot, because none of these things will line up if you don't have it there. Line up here. Don't worry about that, because I may have been a little bit wrong in that case. So it's this and this and that. So there's 4 places I am measuring. Move over. Line up here and here and here and here and all those places. Since I'm out of room, I'll just come back like that. So I have now done a nice corner. I've got my rope going on. And like I said, when I got this, it was not very long until I got those other 2 sizes of rope, because of the fact that I was having a good time doing the rope. Now I'm also going to show you something that you may never have tried, but we're going to do it. And that is, I'm going to get my 6-point crosshair. I'm going to lay this underneath here. And might I give you a little bit of a challenge? If you don't want to invest in the 6 and the 5 point, that's okay. But I would strongly encourage you to get this set. Get the set of the mini crosshairs, because you can draw the mini and then extend all the lines, because this particular design is really nice with the 6-point. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down in the center, bring that up.
I knew you were going to suggest the mini crosshair rulers, Donelle.
Did you?
Well, when you said I suggest you get, yeah.
Yeah, I got that far and then I turned around on my yeah. But
I was finishing it in my head for you.
Yeah, get the mini crosshairs, you guys, because I don't know if you notice it or not, but there's 2 little lines here, and I'm just lining up in between there, out on that edge. And this will make a very pretty flower, and it looks really cool as a poinsettia. So I'm using it for the 6 points. I know I'm overlapping one of my others. And the little one is really cute for some mini poinsettias. But yeah, the mini crosshairs are great because you can just draw for the mini and then extend those lines. And so then you have the 6 and the 5. And when you're doing stuff like cornerstones, the minis are just perfect as far as designing for the crosshairs and drawing for the crosshairs, I mean. And I saw someone ask Stacy if this was going to be available later, so I'm not sure. Are you going to house it as a
Oh yeah, it'll be on the YouTube channel, so they'll be able to enjoy that. I love what you did with that template as a flower.
Yeah,
never have I considered that. That's beautiful.
It's a good one. And the thing that's fun about this one is the fact that you can go either way. It's kind of, this is kind of crazy. It's kind of like Christmas stockings. In my opinion, the toe should go to the left. But a lot of people like the toe going to the right. There's no real right or wrong. And the same thing with this. If this looks better for you, you know, that's the way you want to do it. So anyway, but don't hesitate to do these designs so that you can, play with them in different ways.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
What was the name of that particular template? If they didn't want the whole border sampler, what is that template on its own?
This one is the rope 2.5C, and then underneath it, it says WCR 2.5C.
Perfect. Yeah, so I did post the details about the 2 stores that have these in stock, the border sampler and whole in stock. But if you are interested, I'll post the links to the rope 2.5C as an individual purchase as well. Those templates range from about $20 to $28 depending on the size. That is a bigger rope and echo template, so I'm sure it's going to be leaning towards that higher price point. But definitely, encourage you. So you said that that's just the 2.5C? No.
The 2.5C, and underneath it, it says WCR 2.5C.
2.5C.
And this is the one I'm fairly certain, Stacy, that comes in the set, the border sampler set.
Now, so the 2.5C is actually equates out to a 6-inch design. Right. Is that right?
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a pretty big. That's a pretty big flower you just made. Is that like a 12-inch flower?
No, it is from side to side, 9 inches.
Oh, okay.
It's because of the angle.
Yeah,
it's because of the angle.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now I got one more thing to show you guys. This template, as well as the small ones, comes with the echo. So if you want to do an echo, of your design, I'm going to put it right here. I'm lining this right up on top. It falls into the valley. You move it over. You line it up. It falls into the valley. So you can actually echo your rope. Now, guess what? You can echo without doing anything. This can just be a design, because you can always come down and continue that just by itself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to line it up. So you got a little design going that way. So that's just using that top right there. And if you got just a minute, Stacy, I'm going to show them one more thing. So let me find, here we go. Okay. I need my 8-point for this one. And then I'm going to rotate it so I get 16 lines. And what I do to make it so it's easier on me, again, is I dash those. Whoa, I moved it. Didn't want to do that. Okay. So now I've got those lines drawn. And I just need a straight line here to know where my center is. And what I'm going to do is I am going to do this again. Lining up the same way. But when I get down here to the dash line, I'm going to stop. And I'm going all the way back home. So I skip the dash line and go to the next solid line. I go around. And when I get to the actual stitching there, I go clear back home. So this is a way that you can have it so your designs, you can do this with a lot of our spin effects. You just have to draw your lines and then draw one in between. You really only need one to get started, because from there on, you can just use what you've already stitched. You just have to remember to skip the skipped lines, skip the dash lines. And this is another way that if you're doing template quilting, it gives you bigger spaces to cut out without having the overlaps. Oops, I slowed down when I came back there. All right, so now you can see that my flower gets a little bit different look because it doesn't come on back into the center each time. So I've got bigger petals here. So you can do that on any of your templates that are the Spinifex, or obviously this was not intended to be a Spinifex, but I Spinifexed it anyway. So hopefully you have enjoyed today learning a little bit more about those templates that you may have or may not, but the Border Sampler set is a great set. It's very versatile. I'm excited because of the fact that the rope template comes in so many more sizes that you can play with, and then getting to do some of these other things with it so that you can see that they're versatile in many different ways. And I have to let out a secret. I about panicked because when I got ready to do this, it was about 3 or 4 hours ago. I was looking for things. I couldn't find my Border Sampler set. Now I knew I had more because I still have some that I'm selling, but I was like panicked. What on earth has happened to it? But again, I found it. Thank goodness. I really enjoy using that set, and I had simply put it in a different drawer than it normally goes in. So just a reminder of what you can do here. This is the one we started with, which was our continuous loop, doing different things with it. And then obviously we did the one that you can do as a border, or you can do it as a background fill. And then we did our ropes. So I appreciate everybody joining us today. And if you have any particular templates that you're wanting to see, you should just, send us an email so we can add them in to some of our lives that we're doing, because I just want to get back to showing you how to use what you have, but also adding some new things into that. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on the next Odd Monday. Bye now.